Is this thing on?
Can you hear the people sing?
Well, it's really only two of us.
I know. I was giving us the musical theatre intro, V. Oh my god.
Do
We
you
always
hear the
threaten it.
people singing the
Well,
songs of angry men?
Possibly quite topical at this moment in time. You never know. You never know what's going to happen on this week's. You're away last week. My God. We talked about Rachel Ziegler and we talked about
not my
Avita.
Rachel.
You weren't here.
I
had to lead the
know.
charge.
You had to lead the charge. Were they
Yes.
dissing my Rachel?
No. They were like, more power to her. They thought it was a great idea to do Avita in the streets, which it is a great idea.
It is a great idea. Look, I mean, it rocked with fucking Sunset
very
Boulevard
as well.
Yeah.
Right. Let's be honest. At this time, you know, people in the streets is becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
Which is nice. No, it's good. It's a good thing.
The
We like it.
are those who you're fighting for now.
I don't think it's it's not a coincidence that, you know, Sunset Boulevard's closing and they're just readying a balcony out the front of that theater now as well.
Oh, are they?
Yes. TikTok has conspiracy theories of a Broadway transfer for Avita. So there you go. You might get a chance to see it.
I hope
you
to
might
see
get
it.
a chance to live the
if
art.
I'm not disappeared.
Oh, look. I think they got bigger fish to fry than us, really. Let's be honest.
Oh, no, I'm more worried about being an Hispanic in this environment. They're building concentration camps.
I'm saying they need to he's probably going to take care of Uncle Elon first, you know.
Well.
Uncle Elon's causing trouble. Oh, wait, hold on. Hi, welcome to Uncensored Radio's UCR Live. There we go.
Hi, everybody.
Vera and I are just going to talk
it's
today.
Just the two of us.
Just building castles in the sky. We're just going to be here.
You're going to be musical theater reference show.
You're going to be privy to the private conversations that we have. It's just going to be like me and V having a chat. Lucky people. So how have you been, my lovely V? You've been away for a week.
I have. We went down to Philly because the World Club Cup quarterfinals were happening in Philly, and Matthias is a huge Real Madrid fan. So he wanted to go, and we never say no to Matthias. You know that.
We do know that. Yes, we are aware.
We cut some things off of his bucket list, like seeing his team play in the Cup finals and climbing the rocky steps, and every inch of that fucking rocky steps, I kept saying, "This is not on my bucket list."
Oh, you did it as well, didn't you?
I did it as well.
Go, girl. Where's the gift shop? Where's the gift shop?
I need a fucking bench. Why is there no bench?
Good on you, V. Good work. That's nice. So that's soccer, right?
Yes, football.
Yeah,
soccer.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
Not American football.
Soccer.
The world football.
Everywhere else is soccer.
America
has a weird relationship with ball sports. Really?
Fucking poured.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not the day we went up the steps, the day of the game.
Well, yeah. I would have tapped out on the steps in the rain. That's a safety violation, right? You don't want to slip down the rocky steps.
No.
No.
And the nurse in me couldn't bring myself to sit on the rocky steps either.
I will not be beaten by these steps, says Vera. I will go.
I'll just stand here and breathe for a minute. Okay.
Stairs are the devil, though.
Yes.
I don't care how fit you are. Once you reach like 30, 35, I think everyone does the before you when you see a set of stairs.
To be completely honest, I probably could not have done those stairs in high school either.
Well, there you go. Yeah, they're massive. They are like
Yeah.
legendary stairs. I'm just talking more than 5 stairs. Yeah. Oh.
I know. If I forget something upstairs when I come downstairs in the morning, I gotta really freaking need it to go back up those stairs.
Exactly. That's why if you people that live in 2-story buildings, you're like, oh my. You either get bonds of steel, or you're like, oh, I can live without it.
Yeah. If I forgot to put on deodorant, it's like, I got deodorant in my desk. I'll hit myself at work.
That's why you gotta have upstairs stuff and downstairs stuff, right?
Right.
Because there comes a day when you're like, I'm not going up those stairs anymore. Everything has to be down here.
Right.
I'm staying.
Well, day may come sooner than later. If the world does not catch fire, Dee and I are ready for a ranch house.
You can sublet upstairs. Look, if the world was a safer place, I would rent upstairs from you. We could have a nice odd couple shared relationship going on. That'd be nice. Thundering down I'd probably fall down the stairs, knowing me.
Well, there is a gate. The person who owned this house before us had a little dog, so they had a gate at the top of the stairs.
I always get concerned at Jeff's house because that banister's not real high, and like if I get up speed going down those stairs, I'm going to like flip over Young and the Restless style and be very dramatic.
Ass over tea kettle, as the expression goes.
Well, they take those stairs like no one's business, but I guess if it's your house, you're used to it. There's like, whoop! I'm like, oh Jesus!
Well, they're also kids.
Yeah, I've seen Jeff. Move up those stairs quite briskly, but that's been at a need to as well. I've seen him take it like 3 at a time. That was poetry in motion. We'll call it. Poetry in motion from Jeffrey Emmett, who does send his best. I was briefly speaking with him this week as well. He's been a busy girl.
He told me he would come on once he finished catering the wedding, which was last week.
Yeah, I think he just needs a little bit of downtime. I gave him permission to have some self-care downtime. So he's like, and this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening, and this. I'm like, he's like that living meme. Everything's on fire. This is fine. That's him. That's him at the moment.
I stopped at the sub stop on Tuesday to get a sandwich, and he introduced me to one of his coworkers as Aunt May. So I sent him a text and said, Aunt May wants you to come on the show. But he's not here.
Does that mean he's Spider-Man?
I guess so. That makes him Peter Parker, doesn't it?
We do love you, but I don't want to see you in the Lycra, babe. Again, I don't think anyone over 30 should be in Lycra. It's just a me thing, you know.
Just a me thing. Hey, you know, hey.
Look, whatever. It has been a very full-on week, though. Even my little self has been a bit busy this week, which is, you know, when I say I'm busy, that means I'm busy. We had the threat of weather this week as well. We had this promise of something called a bomb cyclone.
Mm-hmm. That was Hurricane Sandy was a bomb cyclone that hit New York about 10 years ago. Didn't
feel a thing. Luckily this time, it was just like I canceled appointments. We were ready to like make alternate plans at my other workplace. It's like, yeah, we're ready to go. It rained and it wasn't even that windy. I'm like, hello.
That's the problem with these huge weather events and the 24-hour news cycle is that they catastrophize them and make it like, oh, make sure you have milk and bread and water and, you know, should the power go out, have batteries, you know.
And down a little bit further down the coast, yes, that did happen, but even from the maps that they were showing, it was like Newcastle, boom, right in the middle of it. But
right.
No, thankfully, for once, missed us. Hooray. No bomb cyclone.
As climate change happens up and down the eastern seaboard.
Oh, that's not real. Wake up to yourself, Mia.
Parts of Cuyahoga County are now considered part of Tornado Alley.
Oh, cute.
It's like, I live in Cuyahoga County. I don't want any part of my county to be part of Tornado Alley.
Yeah, I remember. Maybe no, was it when I can't remember. Jeff was like, "Yeah, there's a cyclone warning." I'm like, "What? What? What?" I love it though
there
when I
was
come
a
over
show
to.
when we had it. We were under a tornado warning.
That's right. Yes, that's
It was
correct.
a show,
That's
and
correct.
Jeff and I are like, if it actually does
We
happen,
may have to go any second.
we may go.
If you hear and you see a old woman riding past,
I will be under the stairs because I don't have my broom ready for that kind of ride.
ATM. Yeah, no one wants to ride a bike. Ew. Come on.
I did look at an
It's
electric
not
bike.
okay.
I did
You
look at an
did?
electric. I did.
Oh my God, Ace! Hello,
Hey!
old friend. We all run outside. I think that's natural selection, isn't it, Ace? Where you are.
I can't believe you
You
went
know.
back to Texas, Ace.
Well, this ain't Texas, as Beyonce says. Oh my God, what about Beyonce? Did you see?
The shirt, the Buffalo Soldier
No.
soldier shirt,
The car
the car.
that she
No, I
flies
didn't.
around in. Whoop! Had to stop the show. Had to bring her down and everything.
Oh no!
I
Did she
didn't
tip
get to an
out?
article about it. She got out.
Oh.
She's fine.
Yeah.
She's harnessed. She's harnessed in anyway. But yeah,
Right.
the car had a little bit of a malfunction and went a little bit whoop whoop. So yeah, Cowboy Carter just really
Cowboy
got
Carter's
bucked, I
plane
guess.
flipped.
Yeah, she really had an Aaliyah moment. It was not good for her.
Well,
Not good.
thank God
Well,
it wasn't
really
an
work-
Aaliyah moment.
Didn't really work out well for her. Didn't really work out well for Aaliyah either. Let's
Yeah,
be
really.
honest. But, honestly, I mean, come on.
What
Ace
Allah?
has to say. The part of New Jersey I was in wasn't my cup of tea. Okay,
Oh,
well, that's fair
well,
enough.
hey.
That's fair. That's fair. And hi, Joe. She's here.
Hi,
She's
Joe.
ready. She's ready. I'm sure Vera has some feelings today, Joe. So we had a
Oh, my
distinctly
God.
political. We had just a distinctly politics free last week, Vera. We had a bit of a palate cleansing week. So we were. Joe was a bit upset. She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry. We're keeping it. We're keeping it. We had a very
I have lots of feelings.
post Pride show. Yeah, we did a post Pride show, and it was all very advocacy and allyship last week. It was of the moment.
Yes.
But we should probably get into the.
Is Aussie Pride in June too?
Oh, it's whatever. Everyone's gay all the time here.
Well, yes,
No.
we're all gay all the time here too, but
Well, not according to big corporations, They've got that
Right.
window. They got that window.
Oh my
Fewer
God!
and fewer.
Did you see? I'm sure you haven't seen it, but Target, who was originally one of the sponsors of Pride about 10 years
Yep.
ago, their fucking Pride section was a goddamn end cap, and it
Yeah,
had
that's
all
not a
this
surprise.
beige clothing with a little thin strip of rainbow. It was like, oh, Target, do better, fuckers.
Well, this is the world we're back in, I think. It's the 90s
So
again.
entertaining. Unless you're here, and then it's terrifying.
Unless you're living it, I'm sure. Unless you're living it. Well, we should probably talk that news, right? Let's jump into this week.
Hot load of hot topics.
Now, we've got a bit of a mixed bag this week. I'm going to probably leave the big political stuff to Vera because she has feelings, and we know that Vera has feelings. But do you know that the president has a throbbing feeling, Vera?
Oh my God! I thought that's why he got syphilis.
He has a throbbing feeling.
I know. I'm hoping it's I'm hoping it's an aortic aneurysm.
I paused quite dramatically. I was like, "You've got a what now? You're having a. I'm having one." It's very much that. So, for those of us that haven't read the article, Donald Trump had shared a peculiar side effect that he claims is due to the attempts on his life while president. I get that throbbing feeling every once in a while, but you know what? That's okay. This is a dangerous business. He is alleged to have said by the
Right.
USA Today. When you're president, it's about 5%. If somebody had told me this is like the assassination attempt rate, you know,
All right. Yeah.
death kind of thing. If somebody told me that, maybe I wouldn't have run. Okay, this is a very dangerous profession.
Not for him.
Yeah.
He's surrounded by Secret Service, all of who are trained and brainwashed to take a bullet for him. You know, he's guarded 24/7. And you can't tell me that all those barricades, they keep saying, well, they fear protesters. No, they put all those barricades up outside the White House because he's afraid of the Iranian fatwa.
Yeah, I would be now, dude.
Dude, you should
some
be.
Intensity coming. That's some intensity coming your way, right?
Yeah, and they got staying power, man. They'll be patient. They'll get him sometime.
Look, they got Salman Rushdie.
Yeah,
They
and I don't
get him, but they got him a little bit.
They got him a lot. He's blind in one eye.
Yeah.
You know?
Didn't kill him though, but you know.
Yeah.
Each to their own. But it's just like it is part of the job, but you also don't need to stoke the flames of assassination, really, do you? I mean,
Biden,
you know,
Biden's
there's a job
going
and there's
to
a job.
funerals all by himself because Trump cut his Secret Service protection.
And yet no one's trying to kill him.
Because he wasn't an asshole.
Oh, you know, they've also got to be real assassination attempts. Oh,
right. Oh, did we say that out loud?
I did it. I did.
Was it the outside our head voice?
That ear looks real healthy.
The ER?
The ear. His ear.
Oh, that ear? Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, that's an Australian accent. His ear.
The ER? Was he in the ER? Yes, that ear looks... Well, I mean...
Very healthy.
I will go to my grave believing that ear was not bandaged by a medical professional. I don't know a single licensed medical professional who would put that Tampax-looking fucking thing on an ear and call it a bandage. Please.
Oh, dear.
Somebody in makeup and...
He'll probably blame it on a woman.
Somebody in makeup and wardrobe created that thing out of a tampon.
That's what I mean. He'll blame a woman. He'll be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's what the nurse gave in. She was a woman."
Yeah, she was a nurse. She was a woman. Probably a DEI hire.
Yeah. You know, it's that diversity of women. Such
Even
diversity.
though 99% of the people in the nursing profession are women, and still the men get promoted over women.
Yes, well, tis time. But if you don't want to, you know, get that throbbing feeling, you can at least smell like the president. Trump fragrances are here. They are called Victory 45 to 47 because when they're all about winning, strength, and success for men and women. Get yourself a bottle and don't forget to get one for your loved ones too. Enjoy, have fun, and keep winning. Now, I have some feelings about Victory 45-47. First of all, who did they model that sculpture on the bottle off? Because it's certainly not him.
What about all his AI-generated, beefed up, Captain America
like
poses?
An action star and
yeah,
all that stuff. My bigger problem is that really someone you want to smell like from all accounts?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he smells like stale Depends and ketchup.
Well, that's what is being, vastly reported by a lot of people. This is not legal. Like, this is not legal, right? All of these products.
Oh no,
this is not legal.
Here, it was never ever considered legal, but Trump proved beyond a shadow of doubt that none of these things that we thought were illegal for a president to do were ever codified into law. So every president who's followed these norms has been part of a gentleman's agreement to maintain a certain amount of decorum and behavior
Dignity.
that Trump insists that he won't pay any attention to, and he's going to make every fucking penny of every fucking moron who wants to buy his fucking shit. I started it. I dropped the F-bombs early. Sorry.
It's all right. We've done it a lot earlier before. I was like, well, and it keeps coming. It was the phones a couple of weeks ago, and now it's a cologne /
And
perfume.
you can get the Trump credit card. You can get the Trump sneakers.
Now, if there's anyone who I wouldn't trust their credit score, it might be
the Trump
questionable.
The Trump suits, the Trump ties, the Trump hats, the Trump flags, the Trump license plates. It's like, are you
How long?
kidding?
How long till he has his own theme park or something? It's very.
It's like a carnival barker. It's like, come here, got just what you need. Take a little sniff, and you'll have the dreams you want to have. Yeah.
It's very of the time. I feel like we're back in like vaudeville days or something. You too can go home with your very own.
1890s, the days of the robber barons.
This makes me think of the beginning of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. You can go home with your little baby Jane.
It makes me think of Oliver Twist.
That's one baby I don't want to go home with because of the smell. You know, it's just it's not how I want to spend my time, but you know, this is the thing. People will buy it.
Yes, and people
even out of irony, people will buy it.
People bought the fight shirt from the attempted assassination. People are buying Alligator Alcatraz merch.
Yeah, that's right.
That one breaks my heart. That one breaks my fucking heart.
I think all those folks that are there, you know, smiling in front of cages and doing all that kind of stuff, going, isn't this a great idea? We may be in the thick of it now. History does turn on a dime as well. So those cages that you're laughing about and smiling in front of could very well be for you folks soon. So a little bit of humanity, decorum, decency goes a long way. You know, you can have your, how do I say this diplomatically? You can have your forms of punishment and, you know, your autocracy and all that kind of stuff. But again, at the drop of a hat, things can change. So the way you treat people should matter because, you know, when the Ayatollah says you gotta go, sometimes you should be worried about that.
I think that's why there's barricades out in front of the White House. I don't think it has anything to do with American protesters.
Yeah, look at those unruly mobs that are everywhere. Hello? The streets echo.
There's still a whole bunch of National Guards that are stationed in LA for nothing.
Just chilling, enjoying the weather, you know.
Well, the last I knew, they were sleeping on cement floors with no bedding.
Yeah, enjoy the heat. That's what I'm saying. Enjoy the heat.
Right.
It's LA in summer. No thanks.
Summer.
She's warm, baby doll. Like, and that's that heat doesn't like give up until the sun goes down, and you're in that tactical gear.
Well, if you're in the right place and you can catch the Santa Ana winds, you get the warm breezes. They're not in the right place, no.
They're not in the right. There we go. The irony is they're not in the right place. You know, it's okay. It's like, yeah, we like irony. I think one of the, of course, biggest stories to develop this week.
Diddy.
Oh, dear. I am very surprised, but let's talk about it. Manhattan federal jury has found Sean Diddy Combs not guilty of count 1, racketeering conspiracy, not guilty of count 2, sex trafficking of Cassie Ventura, Guilty of count 3, transportation for prostitution of Cassie and others. Not guilty of count 4, sex trafficking of Jane, his former girlfriend. And guilty of count 5, transportation for prostitution of Jane and others. Now, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Is all I have to say, really, at the moment. Given...
Well, I mean, I guess Diddy has proven that he has enough money to get away with shit.
Yeah. And forgive me and my ignorance, and someone may know better. How do you get found guilty of transportation for prostitution and not for sex trafficking? There has to be some kind of tiny, like, what?
Yes.
Something
a little
like
loophole,
some little
loophole, exploited loophole.
Is it the fact that a lot of what people have been saying is that these people were consenting adults? Is that maybe it?
Well, that was part of what the Cassie problem was, is that the defense maintained that this was a domestic violence issue in a relationship, not actually sex trafficking and profiteering and all the other shit that it was.
And that's what I've been hearing a lot. And I probably agree with them at the moment, is that they went for the big charges too soon. Had they gone for him for the domestic abuse, all that kind of stuff first, and then gone again, and kept him, constantly in the system, that it may have been a different outcome, as opposed to going, you are all evil that exists in the world, and we're going to prove it right now.
I do think that being a billionaire in the current American environment goes a long way. That you can buy your juries, you can buy enough expertise to cast doubt, And they say that the tape of him kicking the shit out of her in the hotel was never supposed to see the light of day because he paid off the security manager at the hotel. Yeah. And
so someone's got it. This is the thing.
Yeah, somebody else had it besides the security manager.
Yeah, but this is also the point. So he can have all the money in the world, but that if somebody comes into possession of something like that, you can make like, how easy is it to make a copy of a video these days?
Right.
Like, you can never guarantee that by paying one person off, it sees the end of the light of day,
I make copies trying to cut and paste.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. But a lot of people are saying it's the amount of overreach is part of the failure of what they were trying to do. Had they gone smaller and more graduating charges as time went on, that he would have at least been found guilty of more. And also, we've got to realize that they have really only focused on these two women that have come forward.
Right.
The reports of the amount of victims were staggering. So, do they get followed up now, or do they just get tossed to the wind?
Well, I assume that, like Harvey Weinstein, the first few charges don't stick, but the charges down the road do. So I'm wondering if more's coming. I also wonder if his ability to make money hasn't ended. Is who's going to trust him as a producer? Who's going to buy his music as an artist?
Well, look, everyone's very much comparing this situation to R. Kelly and going, well, how does R. Kelly get, convicted and sentenced and,
R. Kelly wasn't as rich as Diddy.
Kind of stuff. Right.
Diddy's a billionaire. Diddy is one of 85 billionaires in this country.
Yeah.
85 billionaires control our government.
Yeah.
And 375 million people don't.
It's not the end of this, like the end of the story. He does face up to 20 years in prison, with each
Right.
transportation conviction carrying 10 years maximum. So he would have, had he been found guilty, he could, of all charges, he could have been facing life imprisonment. It's
Right.
not over. And Cassie herself has begged the judge to, like, they were like, well, he should be able to go back to his home in Florida. These are lesser charges. You know, he doesn't, as if he doesn't represent a flight risk. I mean, come on.
Right. Wasn't he on a private island when they arrested him? He was on a private island.
He was out and about and, you know, doing all the things and doing all these videos and starting to do some weird call out of other celebrities, like listing people, but not saying what the list was about and all that.
Right.
He knew his jig was up.
Right.
But yeah,
well,
Cassie
had
been on him for years,
calling him out, and Cat Williams ended up in a mental health ward because people weren't believing him.
Right, Jaguar Wright, the same thing, you know. And Cassie has said to the judge that he does represent a danger to the people around him, which, you know, you can't deny that. Now that she's stepped forward and done her job.
Right.
I can't imagine
God
that
bless
wouldn't
her.
be. Yeah. Right.
You know, what a brave woman to step forward in this hostile situation when she had left it behind her. You know.
And yeah, look, for all goods and purposes, she did reach a settlement with him, but you know, I think that money is not everything when it comes to. Hopefully, again, it's not the head of the beast; it's a small section of the tail, but it brings this kind of behavior to light, and it does still happen. It's probably still going on as we speak everywhere in the world. And for every high profile person that gets caught, there's millions of others. But if anything, when people find themselves in these situations, you hope that it being in the public zeitgeist counts for something, and they can go, oh, okay. Maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe it's not right, etc., etc. Because it's a hard world to exist in at the moment for everyone, as we know. But don't be alarmed. Someone is here to save us all.
You gotta love Steve.
Steve from Blue's Clues. Steve Burns, for those of us who... I wasn't Blue's Clues age, but I know who Steve is. I mean, you know...
I was not Blue's Clues age, but my niece and nephew were.
Yeah, so you digested a lot of Blue's Clues.
I've seen my Blue's Clues.
So Steve Burns is entering the realm of podcasting. Welcome. To help those kids who grew up with his show make sense of the world they find themselves in. So this is I actually saw this before. I saw this video before it started trending and whatnot, because I was constantly on TikTok. Huge surprise.
Yes, I saw it too. I saw it like right before I went to work one morning.
Yeah.
It's like, hi.
So Steve says, here's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So basically a societal requirement at this point is for everyone to have a podcast. So why don't we have one? You and I. I mean, it could basically be what we've always done. You and I have always been about this deep and curious investigation of our world in search of these little bits of information that lead to greater understanding, right? And we would even sit somewhere and always with the intention of being super thoughtful about it. There are thousands of podcasts you can listen to. This is one that listens back. I really want to continue what we started all those decades ago. For us, it was all about curious investigation. It was looking a little closer and about asking the right questions, which I think we've been doing as well. And I think
we were here first.
Yeah, look, we also didn't have the multi-million-dollar platform that Steve is launching off. But that's okay.
Don't. Don't bring up those minor details, Steve. We were here first.
It's okay. But I think that's what people are looking for. That's what draws people to us. That's what draws people to shows like what Steve's saying. I think we represent a segment of, a multi-generational segment of the world population that is just trying to understand what's happening in the world and to the world around them, because the bombardment of information, of
misinformation,
of opinion is all very convoluted and can get very damaging at points. Let's be honest. If you exist in that cycle, and like we do, those of us that are reporting and doing articles and doing research and all that kind of stuff, to exist within that is very taxing. It's very draining. It can take a lot out of you. But having the outlet of being able to have an opinion, share an opinion, and listen to others is kind of what I think separates us from some other shows. And what Steve's trying to do is it's a matter of just making sense of it on a micro level, so hopefully it can make sense on a macro level. And
also Steve appeals on a very emotional level.
Right.
I mean, I can get very emotional, but I'm not appealing to other people's emotions.
We're here for your outrage.
I'm screaming at people, not including them.
But he definitely has that a couple of generations in his hand going. He led them into the world, and now I think it's kind of a noble thing to do. Of course, it helps when your nobility makes you money, but it's a very noble thing to do in this time when people that, and it is a conversation I had with someone recently, you kind of become an adult out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, now I'm in charge, and I'm making the decisions, and I have to have a say in what goes on in the world, and I have to be we don't have to, but you should be, have to be a part of the decision-making process for X, Y, and Z. And it can be very overwhelming at times to adults to not, to take that phrase. So I guess to regress a little bit sometimes is okay, right? Regress and go, Steve, help me make sense of this.
There's an insurance commercial here in the States about this woman talking to a graduating class, and she's going on about being an adult sucks. Learning to put on a duvet cover, learning to take off a duvet cover, figuring out what you're going to eat for dinner every night for the rest of your life. It's cute. Adulting
stuff
sucks.
They don't tell you.
They
don't tell you. Yeah, I'm going to make money, and then they don't tell you that part of this money goes here, and part of this money goes here, and then part of this money goes here. That lands in your account, but then people take it out of your account. And you look at yourself and go, I've been working. Where'd that money go?
That pre-approved credit card they give you when you graduate from college, got to be paid back.
Yeah, it's
not free money.
Not free money. There's no such thing as a free lunch. We've all learned that. Yeah, we've definitely all learned that. It's a tough world. I commend Steve. So Steve's podcast Alive will be premiering in the fall in the US. So
I said, who doesn't love Steve? And I got a lot of likes on that comment.
There you go. Yeah.
From people I didn't
expect.
A
lot of love.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a lot of love. I think Steve transcends barriers that
he does.
That exist in the adult world, which is it's interesting, right? Because he will be. I'm sure he will have to be tackling stuff like politics and all of the workings of the world that is going on. But how does that relate to the audience that he has now? And it'll be interesting to see what that shift and dynamic is, because when you're a kid, you don't really know or care about politics and presidents and taxes and all that kind of stuff. So how does growing up change people? How does it? That's probably going to be a really interesting part of the conversation, I think.
Right.
in general.
Yeah, I
Right?
would
And
imagine.
knowing how the adult world shapes
Hmm. I wonder
our
how he's
tiny, tiny
uh,
brains.
including all the participation. I mean, is he having text conversations like we are? Is he
Maybe,
inviting
yeah,
people?
maybe just like an open forum kind of thing. I would
Right.
suggest. Yeah, on good days we do as well. You know, we got people blowing up the chat sometimes, and that
Sometimes.
can guide us to where we need to be.
Hmm.
You know, when Dogsy and Joe get involved, or Lashana
Yeah.
comes on. You know, even Ace, when Ace is feeling feisty, we get people that can dictate the way that we talk. And you know, they've been on the show, some of them as well,
Yeah.
because they've got stuff to say, and we are all about. The one thing I think
Yeah.
about our show is that we are willing to have anyone on. We are willing to listen to anyone's opinion,
Hmm. So if
as
you
long
got
as
something you want to say,
everyone's respectful and can have a conversation that doesn't turn personal and nasty and all that kind of stuff. You've got to stand by your strengths and your convictions, but have some decorum while doing it. Is the way I look at it.
right?
Oh, look, that's a very good segue, because we all need to learn how to behave in public. I would have lost my mind. I would have lost my ever-loving mind at this.
I can't
So,
believe the airline people didn't say something.
well, that's a lot of air stewards, hostesses, hosts, whatever we're calling people these days, are saying the first thing they would have done was take that stupid hat off. So, for those of us that are listening and not watching, we are looking at a picture from the TikTok of Mayo Castellon, at Mayo Castellon, or Marley, who has a viral video that was posted originally in 2023, but it's gone viral again this year. The clip shows passengers on a night flight, and it's a very quick video of the camera panning around with everyone awake. As she turns the camera, we find out why. There is a kid wearing a fluffy, I assume, rabbit hat that is lighting up the entire cabin and flashing like a crazy person. And the little description says the reason why no one slept on this flight. It's like, I would kill that child. And I said in the comments, I'm really sorry. That's just piss poor parenting on display. Who in their right minds?
You know, anytime I've flown to Europe, it's been on an overnight flight. And always there's a person, a air stewardess or steward or host that's coming up and saying, please turn down your headset. Please make sure that light is dimmed. You know, please respect your fellow passengers. You know, I mean,
well, they do.
everybody...
They have control of all that now, really. Like that's the one thing I do enjoy about flying now is that everything. The cabin is controlled. The lights go down, and they come up at certain times to. They understand, the body mechanisms of when people need to rest and how. It's always annoying when there's someone with their fucking reading light on. So
or I mean, my e-reader. They asked me to dim my e-reader.
Yeah, and you do that kind of stuff because you have consideration for the people around you, not this family.
Nope.
And that speaks. Yes, the kid's a little shit for wearing it, but it speaks more to the parent and their attitude in the world and about the world, because what their child wants matters more than the people around them.
Right.
And that is a breeding ground for a little asshole.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem I feel with the world today, is that everybody feels so totally entitled. I have a right to wear my hat. It doesn't matter if it bothers you.
Yeah. Joe says, my mum bought me a toy poker machine on a stopover. She soon regretted it, and I didn't get to annoy any passengers. Yeah, because your mum was like, that's fucking annoying. That has to go. But even just in, like, when you think about kids in general with the whole tablet situation when you're out at a restaurant or even in somebody's house and you're having a conversation with someone and the kid's sitting there with a tablet blaring, whatever, you're like,
Right.
fuck off over there. Put some headphones on.
Right.
Or you don't have to be A, part of the conversation because it's an adult conversation.
Right.
And B, your parents' job is I think, is to teach you social awareness and consideration of the people that are around you. You don't want to breed, as I said, a little asshole.
Right.
It's like, come on. And you can see that kid's like sitting up, looking around, like loving life.
I'm the center of attention.
And the dad's just looking over his shoulder, going, "What?" Like, you take that hat off that child.
Take the battery pack out of the hat.
It doesn't matter how it doesn't matter how long that flight is.
Mm-hmm.
No one's paying to be inconvenienced by your child.
Right.
And like a couple of people in our comments said, that light is flashing. Like that's you know.
Yeah, for an epileptic
seizure waiting to happen for some people, like.
Or a visual person who's prone to visual migraine. That would trigger a visual migraine.
There's no consideration for other people. And I wish I could say it surprises me, but in this world, in this modern world where everyone's child is, golden and can do no wrong.
To the world.
Right. As Joe just said, people need to have a license to have kids. Yes.
Yeah, you would think, but
you would help. But some people know how to exist in the world, and some people know also how to stick it to the world a little bit. Mm-hmm. Sabrina Carpenter, has released a new version of her album cover for Man's Best Friend. One she claims is approved by God. After the controversy to her, I guess, S&M, Dom,
right,
whatever subservient nature of her previous cover for the album. She says on her website, "I signed some copies of Man's Best Friend for you guys, and here is a new alternate cover approved by God." This is also believed to be placating the record label that may have gone a little bit panicked at the result of the uproar around it, because Sabrina's the cash cow at the moment. She's having her big pop girl moment.
I would bet money that the first cover is more popular than the new cover.
Right, exactly.
I
think she knows what game she's playing.
Oh, absolutely.
It is a game that has been played many, 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 many times before. I mean, Madonna is still doing it. Madonna's still, every reinvention, everything that she does has some kind of controversy that grabs attention, and she knows, and she is using the controversy to further what she's saying through the music. Right. I think the reactionary people are the casual audience that don't understand. They're the same people that went to the concert and have a problem with the content.
I was going to say,
because they're just letting their kids ingest it without seeing.
These are the people who have no idea what her music is.
Right, exactly. Right. They go, "Oh, she was on Disney, so that's fine. She's a child artist. She's a child's artist. She's also 7 albums into her career."
Right.
And she's a young woman in her mid-20s. You are very naive to think that she is still catering to children with her music. But she's, even with that, she's using sarcasm and humor like she does at her best. We do have a little bit of breaking news, a little bit of sad news. Michael Madsen, R.I.P.
Oh, when did that happen?
Today, this morning, apparently. Yeah. Had a heart attack.
Oh, dear. How old?
R.I.P. 67.
Oh.
Oh. Vera's like, and I'm going to take the stairs a few more times. It's okay. We'll be okay. Okay. I do have a little bit of a controversial view from here. So hold on to your seats. Okay. I will preface this. There is, I'm going to put a trigger warning in front of this one. This is very topical here in Australia at the moment. We are going to be talking about sexual assault and minors/children. So if that is going to trigger you in any sort of way, I would suggest you step away for the next 5 minutes or so while we have a discussion. Now, V, you probably haven't heard about this, but there is a lot of news going on here in Australia in the wake of news that a male childcare worker in Melbourne has been charged with sexual assault offences against youngsters. And
I did hear about that.
100 children are now being tested for diseases, related diseases. There has also been another man that has been identified as doing the same thing. It's leading to a really big conversation here about the role of men in childcare, with some advocates and commenters saying that there should just be a blanket ban on men in childcare.
I can't go there. I can't go there. Okay. I know some pretty fucking awesome male.
We know someone who used to be a male that looked after everyone's kids.
Yeah, I know some pretty awesome childcare workers, and I get that the majority of perpetrators are people that are put themselves in situations where they can be with children and be in a position of power. They're teachers, they are coaches, they are clergy, they are policemen. You're not telling me that no coaches can be male. You're not telling me that no clergy can be male. You're not telling me that no policeman can be male. These are people who are in positions of power and have been known to exploit the power over children. Okay?
100%. 100%.
I think part of the dynamic here is that perpetrators pick their victims, and they pick victims that nobody's paying attention to. So you need administration to be in a position where they are paying attention. You need parents to be in a position where they're paying attention. You need kids that have the words to speak out against this behavior.
And that's the thing with these kids. These are young children. These are 2 years old and under, so they do not have the facility to speak. So they are, easy victims.
2 years old and under.
God. Yep. I'm going to step forward here because I have worked in childcare, believe it or not, very briefly, and I'm going to share my story of why I stopped working in childcare, and this is a big thing. Yes, there are men that work in childcare. We know that Jeffrey used to run a childcare.
Yep.
There are men that work in childcare. The biggest problem for me working in that childcare role was the company that I was working for, and I'm more than happy to name and shame them. ABC Learning here in Australia. I don't know that they still exist under that name. All I needed to work for that company was a working with children's check, which means I didn't have a police record.
Right.
That being said, at no point should anyone, male or female, that is new to that company be left alone in a room with those children. My first week that I worked there, I was left alone regularly with the under 2-year-olds. These are kids that,
Right.
babies
Mm-hmm.
for hours.
Right.
And there was no vetting that I had any. I have nieces and nephews, so I know how a baby operates.
Right.
My kids have my friends have kids. I know how babies operate, but there was no oversight. There was no anything like that. I'm lucky that I had the knowledge that I had, and I was like, I'm not changing any of these kids. That's not on. But that's I was cognizant of enough of how being a male, especially around children, can be a dangerous thing. And
Right.
same with my current job. If I am one-on-one with a student, I make sure that door is open and I give access to anyone who wants to walk in. I'm not going to stand near that kid while I'm teaching them because, and that's not for any wrongdoing or anything like that, but all it takes is one person to say something, to allege something,
Right.
can destroy people's lives. But where it's being revealed that this particular worker had worked for 20 different centers over the years that he was working.
Wow.
And no one questioned that. No
Yeah.
one questioned why you kept moving from place to place
Well,
to place.
isn't that exactly how
priest.
all the Catholic priests got moved from place to place
Right.
to place?
And that's
Right.
my big
Rather
problem.
than, yeah.
Yeah, you can have a blanket statement of going, all right, no male should work in childcare. That's fine. Well, then no male should be priests and no female should be high school teachers if we're going off, public knowledge
male
of
high
things
school
that
teachers are just
yeah,
as
I know,
guilty.
but exactly.
Male...
Well, no adult should teach children then, right? Because there is the capacity for both genders if they are that way inclined to, it's a problem with the industry.
Men
right?
are more predatory than women.
Of course, but it's not unheard of.
Not unheard of. But right? I spent a large part of my career working residential services with people with developmental disabilities and delays. And there, were a lot of underfunded, understaffed residential programs where you had one person alone for 12-hour shifts between midnight and, noon because they didn't have the staff to do that 24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 eyes on each child is a great,
and I think, yes, we should be outraged. We should be upset. We should be asking these questions, but you should be questioning the childcare institution more. What are they doing? What are they doing to maintain vigilance for these children that are under their care when they're in those doors? Because that shouldn't happen. Even if you're male or if you're female, there should not be one person alone in the room with those kids.
Right. You need to fund sufficient staffing. You know, you need to make sure you have safe staffing.
Right. Exactly. And you can't.
And nurses have been fighting for safe staffing ratios for as long as I've been working.
Yeah.
It's
very it is so similar with the nursing industry. It's like you can't demonize people, the whole sector of people, because there are predators in the midst. Right. You should be doing more to identify that problem than just go, well, no men can ever be childcare teachers.
Right.
So that means, so does that also mean, if we're going with that attitude, that also means that fathers shouldn't be involved in the raising of their children?
Yeah.
And then we're back in 1920s where,
Mm-hmm. Or every stepfather's a predator.
Right, yeah. Or, where, mum stays at home. This is very under his eye. This is a very under his eye moment. And guess what? Those predators will still exist.
Yeah.
In the churches, in high schools, in Boy Scouts, in all of this stuff where children are, male, female, there are going to be people that will take advantage of them because that is their, that's what they do.
Well,
We need
and
to do more as a society to identify that.
to play devil's advocate here for a minute, in
Yeah,
the
go.
90s, there was a chemical castration that gained popularity, like, oh, every child predator needs a chemical castration agent. But what they found is that whatever the thing that created the compulsion, it was hardwired. You could chemically castrate that person so that they did not get any physical erection, but they were still having compulsions.
Doesn't stop the behavior.
It didn't stop the behavior at all.
And it also doesn't stop it from manifesting into a more serious behavior like murder.
Right.
Because if you add frustration to the mix, violence becomes violence because it's medically noted that these people, yes, you have taken away the instrument, but you don't take away the desire. So if you add frustration to that mix, violence is just around the corner, and then that is when people get murdered.
Right.
It's a horrible thing. And as Joe said in our comments on the page and here, not that one. How many young boys would enjoy a male in their life and may only have that male role model at childcare?
Right.
A lot of people don't have dads,
Right.
And even in the role that I have as a teacher, I have the relationship you have with children, you don't realize the effect that it has. And the parents come and go, well, I've noticed this, and this because they're doing this because you asked them to do this, and you said that we need to do this to be prepared and be professional and it translates to so many different aspects of their life. Like I have adults who are my students now go, well, yeah, like back when like we were teaching and you taught us how to do this and how to deal with disappointment and how to work hard for the things we want. And it's not necessarily education stuff. It's life stuff.
Right.
It's life stuff that you might not get from a parent. You might not get from, sometimes you need that outside force reinforcing it or giving you another option as to how to act in the world. And it's very upsetting because I know some fantastic male childcare workers. I know many, 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 many amazing female childcare workers. And I think that for every time something like this happens, it just makes their jobs so much harder and they have to justify their passion for their job.
And it creates an extra level of bureaucracy without creating any extra safety.
100%.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is a vicious cycle. So hopefully when stuff like this happens, everyone gets more vigilant. Hopefully that vigilance doesn't fade away with the next news cycle. As is want to do. We get all up in arms about stuff like this, and then it's back to the status quo within 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You're a parent. Demand better. At the end of the day, you're the one
and provide better.
But you're also the one funding these childcare places. It is a business here. You are taking your child, you are paying these bills for this place. Demand better from them, because if they can't come to you and say our staff is, without reproach, they will look after your children, then it's not the right place for your kid. Don't put them in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Do your due diligence. Don't just trust at the end of the day. Great. I think is the general vibe. Vera, every time it's just you and me, I feel like we're gonna
run short.
We're gonna run short, but that's never a thing. We're running overtime, but we cannot miss Vera events. Okay, Lady V, here she goes. 3, 2, 1, vent.
Tonight's vent is more of a requiem, if you will. We are less than 2 hours away from the 249th anniversary of the signing of the American crap Declaration of Independence. um, it's the 4th of July here in the United States. And I was alive during the 200th anniversary of that signing of the Declaration of Independence. And it was a celebratory bacchanal of Americana, if you will. It started in 1974 and went on all through 1976. It was like 2 years of celebration of our democracy and the things that we'd accomplished and the country that we were. And here we are on the brink of 250th anniversary. And I don't feel like celebrating. I don't recognize my country. This afternoon, Congress passed the Trump turd bill, as I like to call it, that raises taxes on everybody but the wealthy. If you are a billionaire, you will get a tax break of $380,000. And if you make less than $80,000, you will get a tax increase of about $3,000. In what world is this fair? This tax bill cuts funding for supplemental nutrition programs. Many of those supplemental nutrition dollars go to fund veterans' families for our brave men who serve this country in the military and whose families are getting by with supplemental assistance. It's cutting Medicaid for 17 million people. 17 million people who will probably have early deaths. People die without insurance all the time. And these are people who will die too. And Joni Ernst, Congresswoman, or senator, she's a senator, she's not a congresswoman, made the very flip station comment that everybody dies. Yeah, Joni, some of us die sooner than others. She won't die because she's got lifetime government health care that we pay for. We, the 370 million Americans who aren't billionaires, the 85 Americans who are billionaires, get all the tax breaks in this fucking piece of shit legislation. I don't recognize my country. I did not think in 1976 that I would ever be in this place. I had lots of visions of the future. I was a little kid. I thought I was going to be a doctor and marry a doctor and win a Nobel Prize for curing cancer and have 2 children and die heroically at the age of 50 rescuing a small child from the lake. I had it planned. Another version of that plan included me winning a Tony for Broadway musicals and spending my life in New York singing and dancing. And of all these improbable fantasies of what the future looked like, it never included concentration camps on American soil or a president who would deploy the military against American citizens. It never included a Supreme Court so corrupt that it completely undermined the Constitution of the United States. It never included a Congress so willing to abdicate their oversight over the executive branch. And it never included an executive branch who could laugh about imprisoning people in concentration camps that were no more than gated tents in the middle of the Everglades, surrounded by alligators, making jokes about, well, I hope they know how to run away from an alligator. You just got to go like this. And then there's the fucking presidential advisor, Laura Loomer, who's making jokes about, well, those alligators are guaranteed 65 million meals. And all of the maggots think that 65 million number represents all the illegal aliens who flooded into this country, who include rapists and murderers and drug dealers and terrorists. No, that's not who that is. 65 million is the total number of Latinos living in this country. That includes a small population of immigrants and a large population of naturalized and American-born citizens who Laura Loomer and her likes of maggot creeps want to see in concentration camps. I never thought I'd live in a country where genocide was laughed about, encouraged, and real. So here we are on the brink of our 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence from tyranny under a far worse tyrant than King George ever was. So I can't rant about this. I'm sitting here trying not to cry. And I know that there are plenty of Trump voting people who are out there planning their picnics, roasting their hot dogs, making their apple pies and their fucking potato salads, who are going to see fireworks and attend parades and carnivals and cheer about the land of the free and the home of the brave. But we aren't that anymore. We are totally slipping on the world stage. We are totally slipping in terms of technology. We are slipping in terms of education. We are slipping in terms of individual wealth. This tax bill, this terrible tax bill, includes enough money to fund 10,000 more ICE agents. ICE agents who work above the law without identification, just grabbing people at will because you look like the person. And you know what you have to look like the person? You have to be a person of Latin descent. I remember reading all about the history of the Nazi movement. And many of the people who survived said they had to leave early. And I can't think that there's any way to leave. I understand why all those Jewish people stayed. You still got to get up in the morning and you still got to pay your bills, and you don't expect the worst case scenario to ever come. And the worst case scenario is here. Happy fucking birthday, America.
Well said again. I think that obviously these are very contentious times for people. As we said, we hope that we can give you a little bit of an outlet, a little bit of something like that. My advice, I know that I am not an American, I am not there, but I care very deeply for people that are there, is to take this day to celebrate and share the spirit of the America that you would like your country to be, or that you remember your country to be, in hopes that, you know, you can get back to that place. I know that Vera mentioned, you know, these untouchable government members and stuff like that, but we also have to remember there's been shootings and there's been protests, there's been all this kind of stuff signifying that people are not happy. You know, violence is never the answer. So we as an institution that is Uncensored Radio, encourage you to use your voice and use your action in a positive and compassionate way. Positive, compassionate, and peaceful. Share love. Yeah. You can call people cunts for the rest of your life, but let's do it in a peaceful way. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks,
if
Joe.
you want to spend your 4th of July doing something horrific that doesn't have to do with the news, why don't you go back and check out Uncensored Radio? Uncensored Horror has done a little double take on 4th of July themed horror with our I know we did last summer review series. There'll be a new one coming up in a couple of weeks because the new movie comes out. So Uncensored Horror will be checking back in. We're going to be checking back into assigned seating soon. We've got some anniversaries of some other cult classics like Clueless that we did recently. But also, we're going to have to go back to the theatre for a bit more Wicked as well. We've got more
Yes.
roundtable coming up. So we have the variety that is the spice of life. Please make sure that you continue to join us. And if you haven't, we are one subscriber away from 700 on YouTube. It's taken forever, but we need one more. So if you're out there and you're going to be lucky number 700, we love you. There's hours of us listening and ranting. You can go back and, discover the history of America through our podcast. You can also go back and listen to us on Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else where you listen to your podcast. Thank you, V, as always, an insight into the American way of life. I've been Steve. This has been UCR Live, and we will be back at you again next week. Stay safe, stay happy, stay compassionate. We love you all. See you guys.